One night, when I was going through my Snapchat and talking to my friends over it, I noticed a girl from my school sending me snaps that I never opened. It was weird though. I didn't remember adding her to my Snapchat, but it was clear that I did add her. I just don't remember it. Out of curiosity, I opened her chat and started opening up her snaps. It started with cute pictures of her, and then after a few snaps, there were some lead pictures in her that showed her private parts. Some of them contained text saying that, why am I not seeing her snaps? Then it started getting creepy because of her self-harming pictures. I guess she was on my chat when I opened it because she sent a text immediately saying, finally. I texted her, sorry, but I'm straight, and I instantly closed her chat before she could send another text or snap, and decided not to open them again. I could not understand why she was sending me those snaps and messages, even though I'd never talked to her in my life. There was only one time during summer class when I came across her because our classes were combined for that day. Apart from that one brief encounter, I'd never seen her ever again. Even that day, I was entirely focused on myself and enjoying myself with my friends only. After scrolling through the internet and chatting with my friends, I put my phone aside and went to sleep. Before sleeping, I noticed her sending me multiple snaps and text messages, so I turned off the data connection. The next morning, after waking up, I first took a shower and then went straight to the kitchen. Something was smelling very good. I looked at my mom baking pancakes and ham sandwiches with maple syrup. I smiled at her for making my favorite breakfast this morning and walked towards the table. After a while, Father walked downstairs for breakfast and started asking me and Hannah about our studies and how everything's going. After breakfast, we got ready and headed over to where our school bus was supposed to be. I was in 10th grade while Hannah was in 8th grade. We waited for around 10 minutes for the bus to arrive, and as we were walking, I fixed Hannah's hair, which was sticking out a bit. When we reached school, Hannah and I headed in the direction of our classrooms. The day was going pretty normal, and I'd completely forgotten about that girl from Snapchat last night. It was our English class when our homeroom teacher walked in and called out my name, asking me to follow him to the principal's office. As we were walking towards the principal's office, he kept asking me these weird, uncomfortable questions if I were involved with someone or not in our school, etc. I simply replied to his every question with my head nodding or shaking in either a yes or no response. He entered the principal's office, and I noticed him looking all worried and sweaty, which was a rare sight to see him in because I'd always seen him either calm or angry, and someone's parents were sitting across him in the chairs with teary eyes. It was a confusing turn of events for me because I did not understand what I was doing in this scenario. I had never had a problem with anyone in our school, nor did I bully anyone. So why in the world would some emotional looking parents be sitting across the principal's chair and summoning me here? Lizzie, I have some questions to ask you. Do you know Lena by any chance? As he asked me this, I looked at him with even a more confused expression than ever before and shook my head no. That was when they revealed that Lena was a student in our school who had committed suicide last night. Before her death, she had cut and carved Lizzie's name under her arms. That was the reason why they were asking me these questions. When her mother showed me her picture, I immediately recognized it to be the girl from last night. I told them everything truthfully, including that I don't know her very well and had never even talked to her in my life. After questioning me for another hour or so, they let me go to class. Everyone looked at me with questioning looks on their faces, which I ignored, of course. I was completely freaked out by the fact that she had killed herself over I don't know what. And that was when I remembered her sending me snaps and texts, saying last night over Snapchat. The school did not allow electronic devices, so I did not bring them in with me. I was distracted the entire time and kept waiting for school to end. The last period was history, and as soon as it ended, I ran towards the bus, only to realize that it wouldn't start until all the students had boarded the bus. I impatiently waited for every last student to board the bus, and as I was getting closer to my home, my heartbeat was getting faster and heavier from this scary feeling that I was having at that very moment. I directly went to my room, and after reaching home, I locked my room's door from the inside and turned on my phone. I kept staring at my phone thinking if I should check the messages or not, and after a long debate with myself for about an hour, finally opened up her chat with trembling hands. There were multiple snaps of her crying and asking me to give her a chance. And then she sent me some threatening texts saying that she would kill herself if I don't respond. I started shaking as I was going through all these snaps and texts. There was one in which she was carving my name in her arms. I threw my phone with a crashing noise and screamed after checking the last text that she had sent me. The last message that she sent me was, "My death is on you, Lizzie."
Hey guys, thanks so much for all the support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please feel free to do so. In my opinion, piercing is something only girls are supposed to do. It enhances their beauty, makes them look more attractive, and it also highlights their personalities. For a strange reason, I'm not attracted to girls who don't even have a single pair of piercings on their ears. Even if it's weird, I don't know. I do find that a turn-off point for me. I have dated multiple girls over Hinge, but going on more than one date has been rare over the years. Everything changed when I met Alice. It was like love at first sight, and even though she had no piercings whatsoever, I could imagine the parts of her body I wanted to penetrate to make those holes. The woman had a soft voice that could just melt your ears, smooth, clear skin, a slender figure, big doe eyes with thick eyelashes on them, and dark, long, silky straight hair. It was not like I was less in looks or anything. I was the kind of guy who could become famous without even trying, just alone with his talents. But her, she was the kind of girl guys like us desire to have. The first time I talked to her over Hinge, she gave off a rather boring vibe, so I thought maybe the person I was talking to wasn't a female in the first place, looking at how she didn't have her profile picture uploaded at all. There were all kinds of people on Hinge, so I figured it could be either another dude posing as a girl or a trans or something. I asked her out for a lunch date for one of the most crowded restaurants there, just to check if my hunch was correct. But the moment a girl in an olive drab dress walked to me, I just couldn't take my eyes off her. You wouldn't believe me, but as she was looking at the menu, I was trying to check her ears, which were hidden behind her black hair, to see if she had any holes in them. I ended up asking her about that during our conversation, and even without any piercings, I found her immensely attractive and started imagining what kinds of earrings I would like her to try on for me. I didn't mention such things to her since it could make her uncomfortable, and she might not want to meet on a second date. In any case, I enjoyed her company enough though. She engaged in a conversation lesser than one's supposed to, and often nodded or shook her head in response to my question. After we were done with our date, I offered to drive her home with no ulterior motive in mind, but she declined politely and took a cab. I was in a pretty nice mood as I was walking back to my house, and that was when I remembered I didn't have the things to pierce her ears yet, so I went to the store to buy them. And since I had no idea about how to do it, I needed some practice, and for that, I needed a few volunteers. The entire reason for me to learn to do it for her was that I did not want anyone's hand other than mine touching her smooth skin. I tried asking around for volunteers, but no one agreed, saying they would rather pay a professional if they wanted holes in their body instead of getting it messed up and infectious by someone like me. The next night, as I was walking at night to clear my mind, an idea popped up in my mind as I saw a girl walking alone in the park. I quietly approached her from behind and put a hand over her mouth so she couldn't be able to scream. After that, I proceeded to block the air out of her nose and mouth enough to make her pass out. Once I was done, I carried her to my apartment and tied her up in a chair along with wrapping a cloth around her ears and her mouth as well. Then I proceeded with piercing her ears, and since her nose was already pierced, I let it be. The first pair was uneven, so I tried making the second a bit upper to the ears, which also turned out to be uneven. Then I decided to move on to the third pair, and almost cussed loudly when it turned the same. I continued and ended up making 7 uneven pairs of holes in her ears, and unfortunately they had started to bleed, so I thought of taking a rest and carried her to where I found her first. The girl was still unconscious, and since she hadn't seen my face, I decided to wake her up before leaving her alone. Once she was up, she started panicking and telling me that someone kidnapped her. I acted surprised as if I had no idea anyone could do that. I bid her farewell after giving her advice about not roaming around at night. I proceeded with my plan a few more nights, practicing on a few more women, and at the end of the day, I finally perfected the art of piercing. It makes me feel guilty that so many innocent girls had to make such major sacrifices to make me perfect, but they could always close it if they didn't want to keep the holes. Anyway, I texted Alice and asked her out for dinner, but she didn't respond for the entire day, making me worried about her well-being. That evening, she texted back that she was busy with some family issues and would not be able to go on a date. I felt like my days of hard work would go in vain if she didn't meet me, so I asked what the problem was and if I could help in any way. My younger sister was attacked by some psycho at night and he kidnapped her to perform piercings on her ears. She's traumatized by the whole experience, and her ears have also gotten infected, so I filed a report against him. There was someone she saw, but as her condition was not good, she couldn't get a clear look. Cops have informed me that there are a few similar cases, and since they all saw a suspicious man afterward, I'm guessing they will visit the other victims and make a sketch as per their descriptions to catch him. I don't think you'll be able to help though, but if I do need anything, I'll text. This was the longest text she had written to me so far, and after reading it, I could feel my feet getting cold. It was almost felt as if someone snatched the land beneath them. If I didn't text back, it could raise suspicion, so all I did was, sure, take care of yourself. I couldn't care less for Alice anymore. All I could think of was I needed to get away from here as soon as possible. The next day, I booked a flight to my hometown, Oklahoma, and ran away. My family lived in the countryside, so it was the best hiding place for me. I knew I went chicken for something that probably had a few years of prison, but I'm not suited for living there. So here I am milking cows and feeding chickens, hoping to not ever get caught. If I knew my obsession could lead me into this mess, I would have quit it a long time ago.
2 summers ago, I downloaded the dating app Hinge. I'd heard from friends that it was one of the better platforms for LGBT folks to find dates, so being a lesbian, I decided to give it a go. I found it to be just as good as my friends had mentioned, as the little prompts really give you an idea of what people are like before you actually connect with them. I hate to sound like this horror story is sponsored by Hinge and Raid Shadow Legends or something, but it really was refreshing to find a dating app that seemed to focus much more on personality than just a person's looks. Anyway, I'm just flicking through profiles, sending out the odd message here and there when I come across the profile of a girl called Amy. Amy was hotter than hot. She was literally my type too. Crop dyed hair, sleeve tattoos, but a painfully adorable little face with these big, shining green eyes. On top of that, her job title said motorcycle mechanic, and there were legit photos of her working on old Harleys and whatnot, which, again, I thought was like the hottest thing ever. I double-tapped the picture of her working on the bike, typed in a message like, "This is so cool," and then just hoped and prayed that she'd be back in touch. It couldn't have been 20 minutes that passed before I got a little alert saying that Amy has invited you to start the conversation, or something like that. I'm thinking, no way. Is this a real profile? Sometimes a girl might take literally weeks to match with you, and here was Amy, hitting me up after less than an hour. I had my doubts, put it that way, but doubts that were quickly put to bed when she turned out to be charming, witty, and highly intelligent. We didn't always see eye to eye on certain issues, but the fact that she seemed reasonable and open to compromise was like the polar opposite of a red flag. It was like a blue flag or something. Something that screamed potentially wifey material over here. And as much as I tried not to hype the whole thing up, I was super excited to meet her to see if we had as much chemistry in person. So we arranged a meeting at a local coffee shop, nice and public for a first-time meeting. We're talking on Telegram by this point too, so she was able to send me a picture of the outfit she planned on wearing, just so I could recognize her. And oh my god, she looked gorgeous. I didn't think I could get any more nervous than I already was, but when I saw her in that flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled so her tats were showing, I swear I felt my blood pressure ramp up by 5 notches. Anyway, I take a few deep breaths, psych myself up to meet her, then head out of my apartment and around to the coffee place. Anyone who's been on a first date for the first time in a while will tell you how nerve-wracking it can be. Standing there, or sitting there, trying to look cool, while simultaneously being nervous as you're rubbernecking for any sign of your date. So, that's the kind of mood I'm in as I'm standing outside the coffee place, stewing in my own anxiety for 10 minutes, then 15, then 20. By the time I'd been waiting for a half hour, I was starting to get a little worried. Amy had mentioned that traffic was awful, so I figured she might be a few minutes late. But a whole half hour late? I was starting to think I was being stood up. I shoot Amy a text asking how far away she was. It takes a few minutes for her to see the message, but unlike her usual replies, which took a matter of minutes to type out, she doesn't send me anything. I figured that might be because she's driving, so I decide to give her a call just in case it's more convenient for her to talk that way. But again, there's no answer. I'm trying my best not to panic, telling myself it's fine, she's just busy, don't freak out. But I think deep down I knew it was all too good to be true. We'd matched too fast, she'd been too nice. I mean, she was objectively way out of my league, but it didn't make what came next any easier to deal with. I'm practically staring at our message thread on my phone, praying she'll either call or I'd get that little Amy is typing thing so I can at least know that she's still there. Then thank God. I see that little typing notification, and I feel this pure wave of relief wash over me, expecting her message to say something along the lines of, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry I'm late." But it didn't say that. It said something entirely different. And although I can't remember exactly what the message said, as I didn't exactly keep it around my inbox for long, it said something like this. Okay, I think this has gone on long enough, and I have to come clean. I'm not a lesbian. I'm not even a girl. Sorry to catfish you. I just thought you were hot and wanted to check you out in person. In person? What did they mean by in person? What followed was the most horrifying moment of revelation that I've ever experienced. Not only was Amy not real, or at least not the person I thought I was talking to, but the psycho creeper who got off on inconveniencing lesbians was actually there, somewhere not too far away, watching me. It made my skin crawl. I was angry, upset, confused, but the feeling that seemed to override all others was fear. The pure terror of being seen by someone or something that you can't see in turn. I start spinning around trying to find the creep staring at me, but no one seemed to be watching, or if they were certainly doing a great job of hiding it. Then, and I'm not even sure what compelled me to do this, but I started looking up. Now, the coffee place I was standing outside was surrounded by tall buildings, possibly the reason my instincts were screaming up, up, up. I must have looked like I was losing my mind out there, spinning like a top with this terrified look on my face, but suddenly, I saw him. Standing about 5 stories up in a large open window was the figure of a man. He was so high up that I couldn't quite make out his face, but he was definitely holding something in his hand, and I'd be willing to bet my left arm that it was a freaking cell phone. I'm guessing most of the units were apartments and they all had those large glass windows, but he was the only person I could see up there. It sure did look like he was staring down at me, but I didn't know for sure that he was staring at me. And then just when I figured I might just be imagining things and that there was no one actually watching me, just the sick troll that had tricked me into a fake date, he waved. The guy raised his hand and gives this slow, theatrical wave to make it perfectly clear that he was watching me. I swear to God I nearly puked right there and then. I was this horrible combination of nauseous and numb, and I've never felt like I was about to pass out in my entire life, but I feel like I came close right then. My head was just spinning with this this can't be happening. How could it be so dumb? No one that hot would ever like me. Of course it's a catfish. You're so stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. All I could do was just walk away with legs like jelly, wondering if I was going to scream or cry first. I've never felt so violated before, not without an actual crime being committed. I had zero recourse other than to report the catfish account, and no matter how upset I was, it wasn't like I could get the cops to arrest anyone over it. So yeah, I walked back to my apartment in a kind of daze, fell onto my mattress and just ugly cried into a pillow for like a half hour straight. It was seriously one of the worst days of my entire life, and it put me off dating apps for almost 2 whole years. Even now, I have to apologize when talking to girls because I know I sound overly paranoid asking for video dates or whatever. I guess I'm lucky. And I can kind of blame COVID, but honestly, I don't care how paranoid or overly cautious I might seem. After what I went through, I can assure you, you can never be too careful when it comes to meeting internet strangers.
I met a guy online back in August of last year. We immediately hit it off. I was reluctant to get into a relationship though, as I had been cheated on a few months prior and lied to the entire relationship. Catching feelings for anyone again scared the life out of me. But this guy was so sweet and nice that I trusted him and was willing to risk it for him. Skip to mid-September. We both admitted feelings for each other, and a while before this, but he was reluctant to ask me out. I wasn't sure why, but I figured he was just waiting for the right moment, which he was, because he slipped that his birthday was coming up, and I pointed out how come he's turning 19 and still in high school. Then he said that he isn't 19, he's 17, and he's turning 18 in a few days. This made me mad though. We've never actually been intimate. I'm 18, and I don't like being lied to. We both met in a place that's only for 18 plus people. He pointed out that I never directly asked him his age. I just assumed because of where we met. Despite this, when he turned 18 and asked me out, I said yes. We lasted less than a month. He would start fights every single day over the dumbest stuff. If I took over 10 minutes to reply, he would get mad at me and told me I needed to tell him when I was going to do stuff. So he wasn't waiting for my message. He got mad, and I had been in relationships before him, despite none of them turning out good. So I broke up with him. I thought maybe in the future things would stop, because this is his first relationship and he was just unexperienced. I told him multiple times calmly that things need to change, and once the fight stopped, we can try again. But they never stopped for more than a few days. One time he lied to me, saying some girl had been flirting with him and asking if he was single or taken, just so I confirm a relationship, which I didn't because we weren't dating anymore. And he got mad. I pointed out it was obviously a lie, but he insisted it happened. Only later that evening did he admit that it was a lie. Eventually, I shut off my Snapchat map because I didn't want him knowing where specifically I lived, and he got mad that I didn't trust him. One of my best IRL friends messaged me asking why he was requesting to follow her. I checked his Instagram, and he had started following everyone who was following me. I told him to unfollow them because he doesn't even know any of them. And it's kind of weird. He got mad, but he did unfollow them. 2 weeks ago, I woke up one morning and he told me we need to talk. He asked me why I've been lying to him, why I've been hiding things behind his back. I asked him what he was talking about because I never lied to him nor hid anything from him. He said he has been messaging all of my friends on Instagram asking for information about me, who I've dated, who I've been doing, etc. He asked me why I've been FaceTiming people behind his back, not telling him everything about my past relationships, etc. How to know if I was more shocked to the fact that he did this, or than the fact that those people were actually giving him information about me. I never did anything behind his back though. And the only person I ever FaceTimed me first randomly and for 30 minutes just to play 8-ball and iMessage. He even mentioned talking to people who I haven't talked to in months. He also made alternate accounts, befriending people from my past, voice chatting with them, playing games with them, all just to get info from them about me once they opened up. He even mentioned that my ex had messaged me, which I never told anyone, so I had no idea how he found that out. My Snapchat kept logging me out, so I think he hacked into my Snapchat to read my conversations with people. He found my old Reddit and went back 2 years of common history to get mad at stuff I've said in the past. When I asked him how he found out about my one ex contacting me, he said, "You don't deserve to know," before proceeding to block me on everything. The day after, he emailed me saying that there's nothing left to say, we're just acquaintances now, etc., etc. I told him now, and we aren't even acquaintances anymore. He's just some crazy dude I dated, and it's his loss in the end, because he caused this by doing detective work, as he liked to put it. He said he did all this, and he was curious, not that he didn't trust me, and he found lots of stuff he didn't want to. I guess about my past relationships, because that's all he ever mentioned. His little tangent went on for quite a while saying he's my loss and he could have made me happy and blah blah. I told him he never could have made me happy. His money, which wasn't much, maybe, but not him. As a person, not since the first fight started.